See, I have to start dancing to it, Joe. Thank you for
It's so
doing that.
awesome. I was just
Yeah.
imagining us on
Jim
the
would be so
beaches
proud
of
of us.
Saint-Tropez.
Jim Azevedo would be so proud of us because he loves dancing to that new intro as well. So thank you for that. Hi, my name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I am the Director of Business Development for Draft to Digital. I'm so honored, so thrilled to have Joe and Suze from Author Nation Live with me in the studio. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us, Mark. We're such a pleasure to be here.
You'll be speaking too.
Yeah, all the exciting. We were already getting comments from people. Just so looking forward to hearing from you guys. So the first thing I want to say is I want to say thank you guys so much for this event coming up in November. And for anyone listening to this in the future, hey, from the past, but in November of 2024, we're going to be gathering in Vegas, the largest indie author conference in the world. And you guys are at the helm of it with a great group of people. Can you talk a little bit? So for people who don't know, what is Author Nation Live?
Author Nation, yeah. So what we are doing is we're creating a 5-day event that is focused on authors looking to create their best life through writing. And what we've tried to do is here's the thing, Mark. We consider ourselves creatives and storytellers ourselves. We're just using a different format. We're using this event, and we're trying to help people understand that there's a way that we can, as a group, come together, figure out the best practices, not just figure out how to follow others, but to figure out our own path and to innovate rather than imitate. So we're doing a lot of things that help an author who's deciding what they want to do with their career to figure it out as fast as possible, right? So, if you're just beginning author, you can come in and you can really, get scaled up quickly because you have so many experienced authors. They're going to say, "No, this is just how you do it." Like, don't.
Yeah.
But also for folks like you that have been around a while and have seen this industry change a lot, what we've focused on is bringing in insights from outside of the industry. And I think one of the biggest things that we've done to change this from, what other shows have been is, we've opened this up to a broader idea than just KU and focusing on one strategy. We're really showing people that storytelling can be, wide in kind of the traditional kind of wide for the win way of thinking of things, different formats of storytelling, a lot of different ways that as a creative, you can figure out what your best way is for connecting with an audience.
Right. Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I love the fact that you're bringing in expertise from outside the book industry, from outside of silos and pockets, because I think we creatives and again, we storytellers, we writers have so much to learn from so many other creatives that if we narrow our focus to just what a writer, even in our own genre, is doing, which is important. It is important to know and understand and understand that market. But we can grow so much better. I mean, because you guys have tremendous experience that goes well beyond, you are creatives and storytellers, but you have experience that goes well beyond that, right?
So one of the things that we've done when we decided to take this show on was we started going to other shows, right? It's like, let's go and learn from other people. We actually hired a coach to teach us how to do shows, right? Actually, it's a guy out of your neck of the woods, a Canadian guy in the real estate industry who runs the largest real estate conference, and he's an amazing coach, right? Because
you learn how to run a show from him. It's not a writer show or an author show, right? Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that like in anything, any endeavor, just like coming to an event like ours is like there's people that have made a lot of mistakes that you can learn from, right? And it's like it's like that scene from Jaws when they're showing each other their scar tissue. It's like there's lessons to be learned. So that's been really helpful. And then Suze and I have been running around going to other shows purposely to find better processes and great speakers. So like we went to Social Media Marketing World solely looking for talent to come. And we've got several people from that show that we reached out to afterwards and said, hey, we can help you get exposure in this amazing author community that they didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And then, they're the things that they're bringing, we're bringing in a really interesting way too. So I've talked about Julie Brady from Measured Marketing IO. She's going to be teaching a class about Microsoft Clarity, which is a free analytics tool. Just say, hey, come do a slide presentation. We set her up to do 3 case studies with authors that they've been running for the last 90 days.
Oh my God. So this is fresh and live, and that is fantastic.
So if you're a direct salesperson and you're wondering about like, how do I get free apps? How do I learn more about my site? That is going to be a powerhouse course to sit in. And I can attest to her expertise because for 2 things. One, she's an avid reader. She's given me feedback about the experience from the reader perspective. But 2, when we set up the signing store, which I hope we can talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
She came in and, we put Clarity on there and we went through the heat maps and she started showing me stuff like, see, people are clicking here. They expect something to happen when they hit that, and it's not. So either make it, an action, or make it so it's not something people think they should click on. And it's like, oh, wow. You never would have seen that without that insight. So those are the kind of things that like, I'm really excited about people having the exposure to this and how it's going to, inspire them to do things in their business.
So I want to dig into the innovation. I want to dig into all the amazing things you're doing. One of the things I was most impressed with to start off with, it's hard to stop being impressed.
I know.
It's just like, what, you're doing this? But even looking at Eventi and even looking at the schedule, I was going, oh, you've made it easier for authors to determine, okay, I'm a beginner in this thing, like selling direct, but I'm not a beginner in this other thing, of whatever, how to work with, libraries or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you can pick different channels. You're not stuck in one. You, as we're all dynamic. But a question was asked from somebody in the live audience, and I want to address it because I think it's an important question. And where is this? So the question came from someone says, was this the old 20 Books conference? So when that question comes up, I'd love to give you guys an opportunity to say, was this the old 20 Books conference? And obviously let's talk about that. Let's talk about Author Nation and what that is.
Yeah. So we took over the contracts that existed that Craig Martell had when they ended 20 Books Vegas.
Right.
So he and Michael decided last year was going to be their last conference, and it ended. We're not affiliated with 20 Books. There's no, we didn't buy it or brand. All we did is we took over these contracts, which the Solaris are now exposed to $980,000 worth of expenses and liabilities every year for the next 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's what you get when you sign up to do a conference in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that was, something that I negotiated with Craig Martell and his choices around his health. And this conference was literally killing him.
Yeah.
So we offered to do that. And, what we saw it as an opportunity is that there's this change, and maybe it's a post-COVID thing. Maybe it's the market. I'm not interested in figuring out why things changed, but they have. And you've been around a long time, Mark, and you've seen a lot of these changes, and some are good. Most are good. There may be some things we cherish that go away, but I think we all have to, if we're really gonna be serious about being in this business, we have to understand that we have to adapt and change. And so this is us demonstrating that. We're going to take what was really great, the community that kind of existed around this event, and make it so it keeps going on in a new way. So it's not 20 Books, but it's got some DNA from that.
Right.
How's that for an answer?
I love that. And I have to pop up this comment from Melissa, who is the graphic designer at Drafted Digital. So aesthetics are very important. And Melissa's like, I like the Author Nation logo. And of course, Lexi chimes in to say, yes, the A is very aesthetically pleasing. So, I mean, the author is big here, right?
Yeah. And so I think that what's important to understand is that right from the beginning, when we started doing this, we really leaned heavily into the community. The name came out of a contest. We asked people what they wanted to call the show. And then
we had them weigh in on the logo.
Yeah.
Right? We had them vote. Like, what's your favorite? Right.
Yeah. So like right from the beginning, there's been feedback from what people want.
Right.
And as you know, being a big company with a diverse community, that's hard to deal with, right? Because you have both ends of the bell curve that feel they're as important as the middle.
Yeah.
And we have to play for the majority. But I think we've figured out a pretty good way of doing it and, building out what we did around, the core concepts. But let's hear some of these questions and we can kind of.
Yeah. We didn't. There's no other specific questions from the audience, but I want to dig into a little bit of the survey because you surveyed the name of the conference, the look and the feel of the conference, but you also took very seriously feedback in order to make improvements. Now, one of the ones we saw or discussed already was the alignment of the various, I guess, channels depending on where you are in your author career. So it's applicable for everyone. What are some of the other changes that people can expect? I think we were talking about space and how you.
Well, I'll get to space because that's a really, really big one. That was probably the number one thing. But the number two was authors really feeling that a lot of shows were turning into pitch fests, and so I think we came up with a pretty elegant solution to solve that problem in that we have invited speakers and we have vendors, and they're clearly designated in our programming. You can see that on Eventee.
Right.
Somebody that is coming as a invited speaker is getting compensation from us, ticket, room, that kind of stuff. And they're not allowed to sell. There'll be no, if they are, they're going to learn the hard way. I guarantee you.
Yeah. But that's a high level of quality. I want to pause there and say how important this is. People are investing their time and energy to come to this amazing 5 days with so many other authors and experts from all across the industry and outside the industry. They want to get value. They want to learn from people on stage. They don't want to go into a session and go, oh, this was a teaser for something they want to sell me. So I have to say on behalf of all authors, oh my God, thank you guys so much for doing that.
Now, on the other side, we have an amazing community of vendors that have spent a lot of money and time developing products to solve author problems.
Yeah.
And they are paying to talk to you about their products. They are investing in the show, right? The economics of our show, we're making money from sponsorship. We're making money from ticket sales to readers and to authors. So like sponsorship dollars are super, super important, especially this first year to help us build the things we needed to have for the show. But they're here because they have good products. And yes, they're going to try and get you to buy them. Most of them are going to do it because they're going to show you the value of their product. Right. And it's I say like, it's like, if you want the free breakfast for timeshare, you got to sit through the presentation.
Yeah.
So like,
and I've had some really good breakfasts.
Those waffles get me every time. So that's the thing that we're trying to do is like, hey, you're going to go in here and, Damon is going to talk about his product.
Yeah.
And, I think it's important, especially for authors just getting started when you're thinking about your tech stack that you're trying to build for your business, to come to one place and be able to evaluate 3 or 4 writing softwares, some marketing stuff. That's money and time well spent.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's an important distinction. I mean, you're going to a session because you want to learn more because maybe you didn't get a chance to see them at their booth or whatever it was. You want to learn more and you want to be able to ask questions, or someone else is going to ask a great question that I didn't think of, but it's going to help me. And there is huge value in those sessions. I mean, even for existing users who aren't taking advantage of all the cool things that, for example, BookFunnel has.
Absolutely. Suze, you want to talk about the spacing, and like that was the number one thing people mentioned was for those that had been to the previous conference and had been at Sam's Town, which was a much smaller venue. While it may not have been the most ideal venue, what was interesting about it was the intimacy of it. Like pretty much everybody you ran into was an author and you could have a conversation, even if it was interrupted every 60 minutes by a laser light show.
I think it was every 2 hours, and the
felt like because the conversations were so good.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's a waterfall. Yeah, but what was cool about that was you had a place where you
she cut out. So where you could hang out, and so basically with all the feedback that we had, you cut out there, Suze.
I know. That's okay. Right. So you got to meet people, and that was part of the ethos of the growth of that community, right? And so the feedback that we got with our surveying was that we want more of that. We want to be able to stay in the area and connect with all these industry people and other authors. Yeah. And we don't want to have to go out into a casino and look for a bar. We want to have that community right inside together. And so what we did was we opened up, we took out a huge component of the space. People might remember the silver room. And we opened that up to the grand salon, which is the area where you would normally be registering.
Yeah.
And so we have this sort of L shape or T shape, what we call the mix and mingle midway.
I love that.
Right. And so we'll have, coffee in the morning, networking, bars, drinks at the end of the day.
Right.
Joe mentioned to you earlier, Mark, that we were actually renting soft seating. So we have like sofa, seats so people can sit and lounge and hang and do what we are there partially to do. A really important component is, connecting. And so that's what we have done. We've also done some other things with the way that registration will happen in the morning, and going through sort of a different lineup of getting people through their registration a little bit easier without the kind of crowd and sort of incoming caving walls that can happen when you've got a lot of people in one space at one time. Yeah. And so we'll be moving people through there into the event center where we have sort of a welcoming morning. That's really important too, because again, we're looking to provide that kind of experience that is is welcoming, is non-threatening. No. That is it's full of excitement, right? You get to have a place where if you're there on your own or it's your first time, you might having a little bit of anxiety or nerves, and so we're really leaning into every aspect of the experience that attendees will have as they come to the show.
I love that. I love that you took the best of Sam's Town and so you got rid of the other stuff that wasn't as good. So, I mean, and it comes to this. I remember, Joe, a few years ago, you and I just wanted to have a conversation, and we had to go all the way down the hall, all the way, and then find a spot at a bar and push aside the ashtrays and the to have a conversation. But then we both needed to get back, so we couldn't stay long. So we spent 5 minutes or 10 walking to find a spot. And then the other aspect, and this is something Alyssa mentions, is I don't want to have a conversation at a bar either. The libations help, but not the ambiance. And that ambiance, thank you guys for doing that, because then we can have conversations with people and then still be so close to the next conversation or the next. And so let's talk about that intimacy. Let's talk about how that's one of the elements where you're bringing the intimacy back, but you've also implemented some other things as well, right?
Yeah. So I think one of the things we're really leaning heavily into this whole idea of community and how can we help people, not just at the show, but outside of the show, connect and for you to come to the show and get a bunch of information, what I think would be a really successful show for somebody is you've come away with one highly impactful, low effort item to implement for your business.
Okay.
A peer to hold you accountable, and somebody that you look up to kind of mentor you. Like if you have those three things coming out of the show, like it should be an amazing impetus for your business to grow in the next 12 months. So how can we do that? Well, a lot of what I talked about there isn't session stuff. It's connecting with people, right? So we have to make that happen. So like Suze said, we've doubled the networking space and created our own networking space. So, you know, when people are wondering like, what are we spending money on? It's like, we have to rent furniture and have it brought in and put away so that when you're there, you can sit on a comfortable couch and have a table to put your drink on. And there needs to be a bar there. So these are the kind of things that we have to put in place to create this event. Right. We want to have it so that you can hang out in a smoke-free environment that allows you to hang out, and you know pretty much everyone there is an author. Maybe they sell more books than you, less books. Maybe they write books you don't like to read. It doesn't matter, but you know they're there because they're authors.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we've done is we've created some events in the evening, so there's reasons to stick around. Like in the old show, is kind of like after the sessions ended, it's like everyone dispersed, right? And there's lots of places in Vegas to disperse to.
Yeah.
So an old blast from the past, Kelly Lytle is back on the scenes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And he's running a thing called Story Wars. So on Wednesday night, we have the Story Wars Grand Final, the first one ever. There have been 5 semifinalists that have been picked that are won trips to the show through the Story Wars contest. And they will be competing on stage to see who wins a ticket and the championship. So if you win that, you'll get a all expense trip back to the show in 25. We may pick a wild card or 2 out of the audience if you show up. So
and that, I mean, that's such a great experience, because what you're also demonstrating there is it's not just entertainment and it's something to do and it's interesting, but you're also showing authors there are different ways you can exploit your IP. There are different ways that as a business person running this author business, you can leverage your skills and use your skills, not just to publish a book here or there. Right.
One of the really interesting things that came out of Story Wars is, you know, we've got a really generous community of authors and companies that donate money so that other authors can come, and Suze and I match the fund so that we're contributing into that, and we've got a significant, I think it's 13 or 14 authors that they got ticket and they get a stipend to come.
Oh wow.
But there's some folks that it's real important for them not to come on somebody else's charity. And so it gives them an amazing way to initialize the monetization of their intellectual property, right? It's like, I wrote this story and I entertained you enough that you voted for me to go to the show, and I got the compensation, right? Like you earned your way to the show through that. So I think that it's 2 things, right? One is,
I think we froze again. So Suze.
Yep. We could take over. So I'm not sure where he was going with that, but the idea of the Story Wars team doing the regional events is a way for our different communities. So one thing I can just kind of dive into is our online community. We had a lot of people asking, are you going to make a Facebook group? And we just felt that, you know, again, from lessons from the past of creating something that's not our IP, where, you know, we don't have the option of maybe someday it's turned off or whatever. We wanted to keep it within our own community. So I'm talking about our online community.
Yeah.
And, you know, with that, we've been building these different regions that are supporting the Story Wars competition.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So if you guys are looking for a way to connect with local authors, both virtually and at the coffee shop, you can do that within our community. Meet ahead of time. A lot of the groups have, you know, a program manager for each region. They're organizing meetups, right? And then you can meet live for the first time in Vegas. So there's that's circling around these events as well.
I want to spotlight that because I think this is so important. So many of us authors are introverts. We're stuck behind a keyboard. We're comfortable there, and sometimes going to an event like this, even though we know it's good and the investment's amazing, and we know we're going to make connections, but I don't know anyone, and how do I make that connection? You have created an easy way to get a light entry, to get to know someone, and then I find, for example, as an omnivert, when I have a purpose. Oh, I need to talk to Joe about this because we connected about this thing. When I walk into the room and I'm overwhelmed when I see everyone, I go,
Yeah.
"Oh, there's Joe. I remember Joe and I need to talk about this," and that gives the introverts a purpose. Small talk and all that stuff is very uncomfortable, but now I know. So those online communities are. So I'm talking to you, dear author. Those online communities are a great way for you to prep and get a little bit more of those connections that'll help you when you get to the room. Look for the people that you've connected with, and that can be the thing that gets you through, right? That
Yeah, and
buddy
we'll have
system.
stickers, Mark, so
Yeah,
that
we
you
have.
can your regional sticker on your badge. So you can
Oh,
find
cool.
people, you know.
And there's regional managers, and so like we're really trying to systematize this whole thing because again, if we hop into my kind of fantasy world of how all this works, is you come home with these ideas that you want to implement and an accountability partner, and you go back to that community and you guys support each other and keep each other accountable to get the work done. The funding that we do next year with scholarships, we're going to weight to the communities that are doing this the best.
Oh,
So we're
okay.
going to incentivize you. So like if you have in your region, say 10 people that say, hey, I want to get published in the next 12 months. If we see that you help them all get published, and then we're going to send more of the contributions that come in through the scholarship fund into that place, because you guys are delivering on the message, right? Like that's how my business brain works around this, is like, let's build the pieces so that they all work with each other.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
To that point, like one of the things that we're super excited about is
Show them the workbook.
this
workbook.
book, right?
Oh,
And like what's so important about it is
I'm going to make you full screen here so we can.
Okay.
How do we do this?
Yeah.
We go like that. Is that right? How do I make you the?
oh, well,
Yeah.
let me get on with the story.
There we go.
Okay, now we go. Look at this. He's a technical whiz. So I'll kind of move it around so people can see. What we've got is for every day, multiple pages for sessions for you to rank. So write your takeaways, write things down, and then we're going to force you to have a ranking system for effort and impact on 5 different things. So you can every session should have a score between 5 and 25 on effort and impact.
Okay.
And then the idea is like an Eisenhower matrix is at the end of each day, we'll go through, and the ending session will help you to kind of consolidate this information. And at the end of the week, we plot them out on a chart. So where we have that quadrant that ends up being low effort, high impact, just pick one of those items.
Yeah.
Right. And then find an accountability partner and sign each other's book that we're going to help each other get this thing done.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So here's a hilarious thing though, Mark. It's like, I'm already making notes how we want to change the book for next year, because like for us, it's like, it's not right for Monday. Like Monday needs to be completely different. We set up Monday like the other days, but like we had so many moving parts. But now it's like, oh, how do we help people really organize themselves for Monday? Because there's so many vendors there. How many vendors do we have?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. I think there's about 70 total, including, I'm putting them into sponsors and exhibitors. So for Monday, you've got the exhibitor tables.
Yeah.
I think there's about 60 or so,
Yeah.
maybe 65. And then we have the larger sponsors, which are in the booths. Again, those are going to be in the Mix and Mingle Midway, so that our sponsors have access, and then
am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll jump in. So they're, the sponsors booths we've moved out of the event center and into the main area so that there's more traffic and they can have people come in and hang out. But with that Monday, you know, you don't have enough time to see everybody. It's too many, there's too many options. So like, how can we help you to like carve that down?
Right.
And then for folks that have bought a ticket, we do send you like a planning guide to help you get ready for this. Right. And it's basically a document for you to think about, like, what are your objectives when you come to the show? Like what that helps you to get set for what are the right sessions for you to go to. Right.
Yeah.
And I think too often it's just like we overwhelm ourselves. We don't think through, like, you know what, I'm just going to pretend like 70% of these sessions.
Okay, who's frozen now? Oh, game of frozen whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
So you're taking turns. It's good. It's good. It's all teamwork.
We both have the same crappy internet connection.
Yeah. But oh, sorry. You were talking about the organization and the planning. I want to go back. This is an earlier comment, and I missed it earlier from DF Hart. And again, multiple tools. You have the physical notebook. You have the Eventi. And Deanna says, or DF Hart says, love the tool. For first-time attendees like me, this is super useful to be able to see all at once everything that's available on it. This helps make a big conference less overwhelming. So I'd like, as she's probably saying, thank you.
Yeah, no, and we, you know, one thing we're doing is trying to strike a balance between over programming, and trying to give people space to absorb all this. And this almost came to blows in our committee, our programming committee, because we had 400 submissions.
Yeah.
And we had initially had a much smaller schedule, about 120 sessions, and more space in between things. Right. And we just had to compromise and include more things because there was too many things that we couldn't, like, we
not have. Yeah.
So that's the hard part about that is that there's so many people that have come with great content that we want to provide. So hopefully where we, like, what people are seeing and they have the patience to watch us do is this almost becomes one massive conference with like kind of smaller conferences inside it.
Right.
So that, you know, like, we're building out content for narrators to help narrators become better business people.
Right.
Trying to help people understand that, like, you know, there's these milestones that you have to cross, right? You have to publish.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mark, I know you could teach that, right? Like, that's something that we could lay out for how people, you know, deciding based on if you want to go direct or wide, these are the things you better do. We don't have to be airy-fairy about it. We should be very helpful and just saying, if that's where you're at, why don't you just make the most of this week getting up to speed, right?
Right.
And then as you scale your business and you clear profitability, you know, publishing, then profitability, now you have optionality. And you do have to make some really hard choices on what you want to do with your business. And if we can give you the opportunity in 1 week to kind of think through some of those things, I think that's going to be the go-to conference.
Yeah. I love, and I was thinking about that when you think about Author Nation and you think about all of these communities within the greater nation. And that's where you're going to get some of those powers, whether it's based on genre, whether it's based on where you are, what you want to focus on, whether based on learning next steps. I love that, but they're all parts of communities, and it doesn't mean you're stuck in one, because you can then move on to other ones, right? It's like a very flexible nation.
Yeah. You know, I think that one of the things that's always been really cool about the author community, and this is across several conferences that I've been to, is the willingness for people that have benefited from a show to come back and continue to give back to that show.
Yes.
And let's just be completely self-interested in when we're doing that, right? Like, maybe you want to help the new guy because he's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
and he'll remember you because you were there in the start. But I think it's more so that people remember how much that helped them
Right.
to not make mistakes. Right.
Mhm.
And that's why we decided we wanted to make the show continue, is because we've made some really powerful, lifelong relationships from shows like this that have, it's not just about that we made money from that. It's that we've made friendships that are dear to us. And we want people to continue to have those kind of opportunities.
Awesome. Now, speaking of opportunities, before we went live, we were chatting in the virtual green room, and we talked about that importance of readers, and let's talk about Author Nation and readers and what you're doing there.
So this, I think, has probably been the part that's been the hardest for folks to understand what we're up to, and it's a deep, philosophical thing of ours, is that
Yeah.
all the money that this industry is run on, the billions and billions of dollars that fly around, it is based on the symbiotic relationship between the reader and the writer. And when I say that, when I say reader, that includes listeners and any other way of people are consuming your content, right? But without people seeing the value of that story and willing to pay cold hard cash for it, this whole thing caves in on itself. There's no more podcasts. There's no more, right?
Right.
Because we're all getting money off of that. So what if we built a show around an amazing reader community, right?
Yeah.
What if we took what we know we can do with authors, and we created a multi-genre event where readers came together and they had the support that they look for, and they could hang out with people that get them for who they are, and they have that sense of belonging, and they have something to look forward each year. Like, that is why we invested so much time and money in the reader event, and to the point of we've built this thing called the signing store, where for the first time ever, an author that wants to go to a signing doesn't need to print books and bring them to the show. And I know this is hard for some people to get their minds around. And this is one of these things where we have to follow the good old, author adage, show, don't tell. So we're just kind of going to go through this first year and get people to understand. But why it's so powerful is that an author that wants to come to the reader event and sign, and let's say they live in the UK, they can upload their books just like they would upload their books into Draft to Digital with their files. Our store allows them to sell their books.
Right.
And then we go and get those books printed and delivered to the event.
Right.
So it becomes the point of sale system. So all the transactions go through there. You don't have to worry about collecting sales tax and all that horrible stuff that people hate to do. That's on us.
Okay.
And we take care of the biggest single headache, which is getting books to the show.
Wow.
And it's a big deal.
It's huge. As a Canadian trying to get my books across the border, I've had books shipped to a giant facility hotel where it gets lost. This you guys are just streamlining this in such an effective way. So efficient. You're actually taking advantage of what print on demand was meant to do.
Yeah. And we're different. We're a many to one deal versus a many to many, right?
Right.
The idea of how we're different is, this isn't like connecting my Shopify store to a print on demand and then, Mark buys a book for me and it gets printed for him in one spot. In our case, all these orders come in.
All right.
I think Joe's frozen.
So all these orders come in, right? From your spot.
Yeah. So, and these orders, am I frozen still?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay. So, we've got hundreds of orders that have come in. We've got close to 1,000 SKUs up there, but all those come in. We then send that order to a printer that prints those books, load to our expediting company. And then that expediting company will bring the books
to the show. and we'll have them distributed to each author's table so that when their fans that they've invited to come, or someone else's fans that are there, right,
Yeah.
come up, their books are there. They're ready to be signed. So
Wow.
again, back to streamlining and making it
Amazing.
an amazing, experience for both fan, reader, and
Right.
author doing the signing.
And that is so incredibly powerful. I thank you guys so much for doing this. I have to say, and this is so true, and this is evidence of this of the people spearheading this. Is Lexi says, glad Joe and Suze can pick up where the other left off, because that's what you're doing, right? Is you are filling in gaps. Like, this is a huge gap that caused a lot of consternation for authors, and you've come up with a new solution for it, which is amazing. The other thing I really want to pop this up. So Authortunity said, came in, I'm glad there were replays because I missed half of this. I don't even know what we're talking about, but I already know I need this.
I love it.
I want to talk about, so anyone watching this saying, is Author Nation for me? What are sort of the responses? How can an author determine, like, opportunities? Is this something that I need to get to or need to be a part of?
Yeah. So I think that, it is for anybody that is really serious about indie publishing in their as a career path.
Right.
And we believe that we've got the best curriculum out there. If let's say you've never published before, we're going to get you up that learning curve faster, and you're going to walk away with people that have done it and can help you get it done.
Right.
So, like, there's a lot of opportunities out there with courses or groups to learn stuff, but this is a different way to get up the curve faster. I think where we have the biggest am I back?
No,
Well,
you're back. You're
you
back.
keep going. Yeah.
Oh, now I lost you.
I know he's gone. Right. So trying to pick up where he left off. Sign me up. I love this opportunities person.
I'm the whole idea of helping you figure out how to get your business so that it's profitable. Like, we're really focused in on the business of writing, and this whole idea of, like,
Yeah.
hey, we need to get some things right sized here, and you need to think through some big decisions, right? Because
Yeah.
how you go to market really needs to be nuanced based on the genre you're writing, where you're at in your career. I think you're going to see things that are not available elsewhere. And then for the folks that are like, I've got this figured out, I'm making money, I'm good, I'm just really got nobody to follow anymore. We're giving you ways to challenge your thinking. We're giving you these things like we talked about with some of these speakers that are really talking more at a transformational level to make you think like, hey, if I took this and this and put it together in a novel way, that would really delight my fans.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that, I know it's a big expense, but if you're somebody that's never been to an author show before, while it may seem daunting to be like, oh my God, I'm gonna hang out with all these people, I don't know them. This is a community that's really welcoming, and they have all felt that way, and they are looking to find more people like them to help them succeed.
Yeah. Because we do it together, right?
Yeah.
It really is about this author community supporting and lifting one another up. And like you said, people who've been through it and learned things along the way are going to come there and say, well, I made this mistake, so you may want to avoid this thing and save you some heartache, right?
Yeah. And, we've known each other quite some time. It's like, we've been through a few of these cycles, right? It's like, and it's not like, oh, well, this is how it is. It's like, well, it was this way. It's not that way anymore. Don't do that because it's not working for me either. Maybe this is what needs to happen. Maybe we need to be thinking, and that's so, like, think about this. Why didn't we just lean heavily into the author thing? It's like, oh, people come to shows to learn ways to find more readers. What if we cut out the middleman? What if we get more readers just to show up? We fill the barrel full of fish. Then you guys are probably going to want to load up with your shotguns and shoot the barrel.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the whole thing. Like, and so like we spent a lot of money and a lot of time and create a lot of extra work to build things like the signing store and market to readers.
Right.
Because we know we have to do it as good as we can this year so that we can build on it for next year, so that we can build on it so that in 3 years time, that reader event is why our author event sells out. Is because people want to be there so they can be connecting up with their audience, not just because they know there's fans to sell books to, but because they're desiring to hang out with those fans, right? They love hanging out with those people, right? So like, that's what we're trying to build.
And I'm so excited with what you're building, and I cannot wait to experience it firsthand. I look forward to seeing you two there. I look forward to seeing so many of our listening audience there. And you guys can learn more about Author Nation over at authournation.live, right? authournation.live, and they can find out more about it. They can register, find out more about the signing store, how they can get involved, right? It's still not too late.
Still not too late. Please sign up. We got 39 days. Ironically, we get a lot of signups right now where people finally are like, oh, wow, that's just around the corner. I should probably do something. Like yesterday we had a ticket selling like in the UK and Australia. And that boggles my mind that
travel planning. Yeah, that's wow. I mean, I booked mine in quite early because I wanted to make sure I could get there and be there on time. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for doing this. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks you. And again, thanks to Drafted Digital for all the support that you guys have done here for us. We couldn't do it without companies like you that are trying to make this thing so easy for authors to get their books to their readers.
Being part of our story, the Author Nation story.
Yeah, and it's all part of building up this great Author Nation. We're all proud and excited to be involved. So thank you guys. For those of you watching, I want to say thank you to Joe and to Suze. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. All of those things help us get this content out to you. So great guests like Author Nation, Joe and Suze can be brought to you. Make sure you bookmark d2dlive.com. We are here every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, providing you fantastic guests so you can ask questions. We can all learn together. And if you're new, you can sign up for a free account at drafteddigital.com and get your publishing career started. If you're going Author Nation, we'll be there with all the other great vendors, 70 other service providers, and you can learn anything about that. But again, I want to say thank you guys, and we're going to probably close out with a little bit of a brand ender, a little bit of information. And Joe, Suze, I look forward to enjoying some M&Ms with you in the green room at the end. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye, Mark.
You're probably aware that Draft Digital has a free Microsoft Word to ebook conversion tool. You simply load your Word document, and in a matter of seconds, we'll convert it into a professional quality EPUB file with dozens of quality templates to give your book that pro designer look and feel. And if you haven't added a title page, a dedication, or a copyright page, no worries, we've got you covered. We can even help insert great sales tool options such as links to your other books, and also insert features such as a teaser and a link to another one of your books, an About the Author page, and a handy Follow the Author link, where your readers will get notified of any new book you release through Drafted Digital. This is just one of dozens of great free resources we built for you, because it's important for us to remove the barriers preventing you from getting back to writing your books. And you can learn more at drafteddigital.com.